Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to be giving a bit of a channel update. Over the past few months, we feel like we've become a bit less productive with some of our tractor projects and making our videos, and there's a few reasons that we can think of for that, so let's go through a few of them. So the first thing are the exams that I've been doing at school recently. Now these were mock exams for my GCSEs, which means that they aren't the exact actual thing. However, they're one of the few opportunities that you get to actually practice doing these exams before the real ones come around, and unlike some people at my school, I decided that I would actually take them seriously. So that reduced the time I had to do workshop stuff by a lot, because I tended to be doing 3 to 4 hours of revision per day. So it was kind of like having an added part-time job without getting paid. But now we're in the summer holidays, so I don't have that time taken away from me now. Unfortunately, after I've done relaxing for the summer holidays, there's my final year before GCSEs, so that's going to be a lot more restricted for time, but we'll deal with that problem when we get to it. Now next up, we've also had quite a lot of non-YouTube things going on, which have occupied a lot of time and resources, like some projects that we've been doing in the background with a bit of welding and other stuff that weren't really video worthy, both for us and some other people, so that's occupied a decent amount of time. And also I do a few clubs per week for school, which I'm definitely not complaining about spending the time there because I enjoy them. Probably the more interesting one is I'm a member of the school's electric car racing team that we have, and so a couple of times a week we all meet and try and do some engineering, improve our car, and then a few times a year we get to race it against other schools and teams across the country, and a couple of those race days were recently, so that's occupied a bit of time. And the next one is actually in September at the Top Gear test track, so that should be a lot of fun. And again, I'm not complaining about spending this time because obviously I enjoyed it, but that's just another thing that's kind of gotten a bit in the way of us doing video stuff. The other thing was the projects that we've been doing recently, such as the Moto Standard 1010. Now this was meant to be an infill project, but with some of the other projects that we've been doing, such as our snowcaster and the sleeve hitch, this has become the main project, and we've kind of done other projects around it. Speaking of the sleeve hitch, we'll give you a quick update on that. It's still in primer because we're still not very happy with the finish on it. We also ran out of grey primer, so that's why there's yellow primer on it. And unfortunately, while we were building up the layers of primer, it got dropped, so that created a big chip out of that, but accidents happen, so we're just going to have to deal with that and keep doing the primer and stuff for that. Now back to the Moto Standard, and we have actually made some progress on this off camera. Now, as you can see, it's sitting on its own wheels, which means that we've fitted all of the new shims, and we've actually made up new end washers here because the old ones were dished and worn, and it was just easier to make new ones. So we got a couple of these big washers, which were the only ones we could find with that outside diameter, then just opened up the hole in the center so that they now fit perfectly. And the shims are working well too, because if I give this a bit of a move, there's no movement in the wheels, just the workbench moving, so that's a job well done. But with the rest of the Moto Standard, it is pretty difficult to progress because obviously we've got a lot of difficult jobs to do. The fuel tank, the air filter, the exhaust, all of that kind of stuff. Stuff that will take a lot of thinking and may not be very videoable at the end of it. whereas it's going to take a lot of time for possibly not a lot of videos, so we're not fully sure how to progress with this very well. Now let's talk about what we've already done. We've got some new engine bolts here, which we're going to use to fix down the engine. Then we can kind of build everything up around it ideally. And we've now narrowed down our choice of fuel tank to these two here. This one's an old Briggs & Stratton tank, which we got at a recent auto jumble. And there's also this one, which we found in the shed. Sounds like it's got a 3-course meal in it, but if we choose to go down that route, I'm sure we could sort that out. So how we plan to deal with this challenge is by grabbing our tank. I'll demonstrate with this one, and kind of working out a way of fixing it here above the battery and behind the engine, which would obviously require a lot of fabricating of new brackets. And also reminds us of another challenge that we've got now, which is the battery tray. That is designed to take a motorbike battery, which are somewhat expensive. So if we want to save a bit of money, we can go down either of two routes. We either pull this battery tray out and make a new one that will fit a different kind of battery, or see if we can compare sizes between motorbike batteries and other batteries that we can find, and see if we can find one that would already fit in the original battery tray while still being functional for this machine. What we really want to do at this point is just finish this project. What we could do is put it at the back of the shed and forget about it, but we don't really want to do that either. There's no point getting halfway through a project then just stopping. So that means we need to do all of these big jobs pretty soon. And even though they might not be very videoable, what we will be doing is giving you video of what we have or haven't been able to do. And even if it's just a bit of a summary video, it still covers what we will have done, even if the video of us doing it isn't very entertaining. And the main reasons why we're wanting to get this finished is because after doing a project for such a long time, it does get a tiny bit boring working on the same thing over and over again. And also we're quite looking forward to things that we'd be able to do after this. One of the main things we have planned is working on the 1960 Bolens Ridermatic, now that we have the parts we need for that. So that will definitely be an interesting project, but of course we need to get this one done first. One of the big takeaways or learning points from this tractor project is probably how we approach our projects. Now, up until this point, we usually just did odd jobs on the tractor as we thought of them or as we went down our list, whereas this one, we approached it a bit differently. We kind of took off big things like focusing on the front axle or the gearbox, sorted all the problems with those, and then put them back on. And I think we're kind of going to amplify that system on our next project. What we're planning to do on our next project is effectively strip it completely down into the bigger parts. So you take the chassis, put it somewhere, the engine, front axle and steering, the back axle, all of those parts, and keep them separate. Then we'd start off with the work on the chassis, do any work needed on that, and then you have a good chassis that's usable. And then we go around to each big component like the rear axle, etc., sort out all of the jobs on them, and then once that's good, add it to the chassis. So effectively you're building up a fully working tractor, rather than doing what we've done partially on this one and our previous project, where you've got a non-working tractor with random working bits on it. Whereas on our next project, hopefully we should just be able to build up a working tractor, and that should make it a lot simpler in the end. And our next project will hopefully be that Ridermatic, and that has quite small parts, so that shouldn't take up much space, which I reckon was probably the limiting factor of us not doing this before, was the fact that we didn't have enough space to lay out all of the parts. So I would appreciate your thoughts on that idea, because we like the sound of that approach to doing our next project. But now we're going to head inside because we have some mail to open. We are indoors now, and here is our piece of mail. It is from Dell, His channel is In the Backyard with Del, and he does videos about firewood, garden tractors and boating, and he has a very nice David Bradley walk behind machine, and yeah, he has a very good channel, and we'll have a look at what he's sent us here. He's based in South Carolina, I believe, and he's got us a nice note here. I will read this in a minute, and he's sent us 4 of his stickers. We have a look at them here. It's quite a cool design there. Just read the letter from Del here, and it's a very nice note, so thank you, Del. Quite ironically, he says about being a little behind on watching videos, and we ourselves were quite behind on doing this mail because we did receive it a couple of weeks ago, so sorry, Del, for the delay in opening this. But it's always good to receive stickers from some of our fellow YouTubers, and once again, make sure to check out Del's channel, In the Backyard with Del. And if you like what you see when you go to his channel, why not subscribe, give him a thumbs up, and comment that I sent you, and I'm sure it'll make you feel very welcome. We'll leave a link in the description or in the top corner or something to make it easier for you, so be sure to check out his channel. But that is it for this video. Thank you for being understanding with us being a bit behind and delayed at the moment with our lack of time, but hopefully business will resume as usual shortly, and we'll be back to normal with creating videos and content. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.